It's News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show. This is attorney Marc Kapetan, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. We've been serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we're the Valley's law firm. Hey, today's show is sponsored by Sherlock Realty. Sherlock Realty, if you're searching for a new home and you need a clue, turn to my friend Victoria Sherlock from Sherlock Realty. She's like the Sherlock Holmes of real estate, a super sleuth for finding your next home with nearly 20 years of real estate experience. Victoria's a pro at selling homes or finding you a new home. And so if you're looking for the best value for your dollar, call my friend Victoria Sherlock at Sherlock Realty. Call 559-289-4669. That's 289-4669. Sherlock Realty, the clue to finding your next home. Do you like that? I made that up. You want to get that closer?
It sounds okay.
It sounds okay?
Yeah, why not?
Sorry, I'm pushing the mic closer to you. It's like you've never been in front of a mic before.
No, this is all new to me. I've never done this before.
All right, I'm going to do a little monologue for you because this is what I do, Ray. I already blew it who the guest is. Listen, sometimes a person comes into your life and the change in your trajectory is profound. You know, obviously my mom and dad during my formative years, my brothers, who, by the way, kept me away from drugs and everything like that back in the day, beat me up too, but that's another whole story. My high school teacher, Mr. Rumley, my law school professor, Larry Levine, my artist buddy, Frank Arnold, who's become a bit of a life coach, even though I hate that term, life coach. My buddy and judo sensei, Haruo Imamura, and his son, Richard, who were inspirations of discipline and dedication. But last on that, or the next on that list, I got to say, is my next guest, who quite frankly is the sole reason you hear me every Saturday at noon. He's been my mentor for radio, freely, and I mean freely, teaching me everything that he knows, very giving of his time and experience, and I enjoy the benefits of learning from one of the best radio talents that has ever ridden the airwaves, and I truly mean that, Ray. So please welcome my first guest ever, and now returning to the Marc Kapetan Show, my bandmate, my friend, and my mentor, Ray Appleton.
I thought you were bringing on Don Imus or somebody. Jeez.
Oh, my God.
Thank you. My head's bigger than Australia now.
Okay, now I've listened to Don Imus, and as we all did back in the day a bit. You're better than Don Imus.
Oh, thank you.
No, and I'm not, and I don't think he's, the end all be all as far as that's concerned. But what people didn't understand is my brother Peter came one day after doing an interview with you, and he said, I just did an interview with another radio host, and he goes, it was so difficult answering the questions, having a conversation. He goes, I realized Ray is supremely the best that there is. Yeah,
I don't know what to say. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Well, okay.
Don Imus had the greatest radio bit in history. His thing was just to be outrageous. So if you remember back to the days of Uganda and Dr. Idi Amin Dada, their leader, renowned for eating his wives.
Right.
And I'm not going to touch that line with a 10-foot pole. But he literally cannibalized his wives. And so Imus calls the head of the state government in Uganda, in Entebbe.
Right.
And he says to the person on the phone, I want to talk to Amin. And the lady's like, well, I don't know. Who are you? And he explains, and she hangs up on him. Yeah. He calls again. And you go, tell him I want to talk to him. I want to dare him to do something. I want to pay him to do something. No. Click. And then it goes on. Finally, he gets on the phone.
Idi Amin gets on the phone.
This went on for 2 days before he got on the phone.
Okay.
And he says, sir, I'm flattered. Here's what I'd like you to do. I will pay you $1 million to grab a small blonde, put her in your arm, and climb up the side of the Empire State Building.
That's what he wanted to tell him.
Just think about it. Idi Amin was this giant, black dictator.
Yeah.
King Kong is what he was referring to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny at the time. And Amin took him up on it. Yeah, explain again what you want me to do. You know, I mean,
he was having a conversation with him.
Hysterical. It's one of the best bits ever. You had to hear it to get it, but I'll give you $1 million to climb on the side of the Empire State Building with a small blonde under your arm.
Okay, you were already in radio by that time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Did you never seem to have been influenced by the shock rock type guys? Is that because you were already into it, or that just wasn't you?
No. I mean, the manifestation of what I do on the radio is just me. There's no character. It's just me. I had to do that because, 99% of the radio work I've done for 55 years in this market, it's my hometown.
Right.
So if I did something other than just me, it would be very disingenuous.
Okay. And I just had Blake Taylor sitting in that seat right there right before you came in. We were just generally talking. Is what we hear, well, I guess your answer is yes, this is what you hear on the radio is what I am. But radio, I think, has, especially the guys around here, it influences the speech pattern. It influences how you guys talk so fast compared to the way I talk. Even I notice my inflections have gotten even bigger and greater and a little bit more grandiose and stuff like that. Does it affect you to where you believe that you're the same that you're not the same person you would have been if you didn't get into radio?
I don't know that I understand that.
I mean, do you think that you really are who you are off the air as you were on the air?
Yeah.
Or do you think radio in some way affects your life?
Well, I mean, maybe at a time when I was doing like, a disc jockey, rock and roll kind of guy. I mean, you really want to inflate your ego and you want to come on, larger, bigger, and broader than you really are,
right? Just
to get attention. But when you go into talk radio, that's a reflection of who you are genuinely, juxtaposed to what's going on in the world of news, current events, all that. So you really have to bring it down to that level of being real and communicative and not somebody that you aren't, if that makes any sense.
It does, but I think more, and I don't talk about politics here much. I don't talk about, the current events of the day, et cetera. And I think you're sort of reflecting that. But what I'm saying is, I know you as more of an introvert, and more of a quiet guy. In fact, I went back and listened to our first show from June something or other, 2019, and you kept on saying, "Hey, I hope I'm not boring the audience." Mark, you keep on insisting about talking about me. So in some ways, everybody has seen you as this character on radio, this quote unquote ego. You even had KKDJ way back in the day would make fun of, Ray and this larger.
Even though I never worked there.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is they saw this larger than life character, but when you're off the air, I don't see you that way. It's got to change.
Well, that would be the only difference. I mean, when you're doing talk radio, you got to talk. Otherwise, why are you in the business? So when I get off the air, my brain's kind of, warped, killed, jello. And so, I become a little bit more introverted and I'm just mentally tired.
Do you get tired of talking about politics for 35 years?
No, it's because it changes. I mean, even though the subject matter is the same, there's a different nuance to it every day. So this is one of the reasons why I got into talk radio. When I got into music radio, 69, you could basically do what you wanted to do. You could play your tunes, you could talk about your tunes, the early days of FM. And all of a sudden came the consultants and it became more formatted and more formatted and more formatted till you just became a machine that did time, temperature, and caller ID. That's it. So when I was in England, at some of the radio stations, you did both. It was day parted. Early in the day, you might be a disc jockey, playing the hits. Later in the afternoon or that evening, you could be doing a talk show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I did both. And I really identified with the talk show side of it as a reminder of the early days of FM in the late 1960s, because with talk, I can still do what I want.
Right.
Nobody tells me what to do. I just have to fill more time with me rather than records.
Had you done talk prior to going to England?
No.
So that's when you got into the foray of talk radio.
Yeah.
And you were basically discussing English politics at that time.
I don't know. At the time, they wanted me to talk about American things compared to what they do and how they do.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you live while you were there?
Out in Surrey at a little place called Cobham. Sometimes I shared a flat inside of London, Kensington.
Yeah.
I love the English countryside. I take the train in every day, 27 minutes, because Cobham was about 27 miles southwest. I stayed, off and on with friends, family that I've known forever.
The Bond girl.
Oh, yes.
The James Bond girl.
Yeah, Joe is my best friend in the whole world.
Joe, that's her name, right?
Joe Edgerly, yeah.
We're going to be right back after this with your friend and mine, Ray Appleton, right here on the Marc Kapetan Show. This is KMJ. It's News Talk 580 105.9 KMJ. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show. Folks, I'm going to pop this music down like I like to do on the second segment. Listen, I want you guys to do yourself a favor. You hear me on the radio for the past X amount of years now, but I really am, and Ray, you could attest to this, Ray Appleton, who's our guest for today. I really am a very, very real attorney. I'm a real attorney. My brother Peter is a very, very real attorney, and I will be maybe bold enough to say after this many years of practicing that we're not only real attorneys, but we're really good attorneys. So if you have been in some sort of accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, you're sitting there, it's a very scary time. You're injured, you're in pain, you're stressed out, you don't know what to do, make a simple call to any attorney. I hope you call the Kapetan brothers. We'll do a great job for you. But call your local attorney. Call the Kapetan brothers at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, or the Valley's law firm. We're back on with Ray Appleton. Hey, by the way, is this sounding a lot better than the first show that I did with you, Ray?
Oh, yeah, you've improved greatly.
I appreciate it.
And the numbers that you pull in for a weekend show in talk radio, it's very impressive. I mean, usually, I just have to say it, I mean, a Saturday or Sunday program in the format is kind of a nothing burger. And you're doing incredibly well, pal.
Thank you very much. And I forgot, Marcella, we have not mentioned that a few weeks ago we are number one with women 25 to
54,
100 and something or whatever. Yeah, which I love that. Thank you, ladies out there, for listening. I sure appreciate it. We were talking about England, and when did you finally? You were in talk radio in England. You came over here. You came over. When do you think you finally? I'll tell you right now, for me to get on without having some sort of research like I like to do is very difficult. I've seen you, the king that you are, get on with no notes, no nothing, and start talking. When did you first start realizing you were hitting your stride in talk radio, or do you think you always had that?
Well, I mean, you have to remember the first day that I went on the air, October the 11th, 1987, October the 19th, 1987, was the day the market crashed. I mean, it was Black Monday.
Black Monday, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And Brodsky goes, you're on. He was running the place at the time. I said, you got to be kidding me. So that was my first day on the air.
Okay.
That was a trial by fire. You had people throwing themselves off of buildings because their fortunes were gone.
What had you done to prepare yourself for that day?
Well, nothing, because it happened literally while I was waiting to go on.
I mean is you're going to be on the top radio station in the Central Valley, probably one of the top radio stations in the United States, one of the largest radio stations in the United States. Did you just come walking into work with no briefcase and say, okay, where's the microphone? Let me start talking. Or were you like me, where you were sitting there preparing for a couple days or something like that, and then all of a sudden there's this change in the news, and now you're just riffing? And did that change the style and the way that you decided to prepare for your show, that I just have to wait for the news to come out?
And that's pretty much what you said in the beginning. It's just kind of like nothing.
Yeah.
And just fly by the seat of your pants with the best knowledge you have of the incident. John Brodsky, when he brought me in, and my intent was just to stay here for a very brief time and go back to England. I watched everybody else who did it on the air, and these people would have stacks and stacks of notes. I didn't want to do that because
as you look at mine,
even though I have stacks and stacks of stories every day, but I don't have stacks and stacks of handwritten notes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be able to take the stories and interpret them as best as I could without any written scripts telling me what to say and respond to them accordingly. Now, you asked me when I thought I hit my stride. This was weird. It was maybe 4 or 5 weeks after the market crashed. Coach Jim Sweeney was doing all kinds of things and getting into all kinds of trouble with the NCAA, 2A. Right. And it was during that period when I was talking about Sweeney, I started getting very emotional and really started surrendering my opinion. And it hit me one day on the air. I remember it like it was weeks ago. And pardon my voice. It's just been screwy all week.
You just did 3 hours, I know.
It was just like, oh my God, I got it. I figured it out. I know what to do. And I couldn't tell you what it was that I did, but I knew what to do. And I've been doing it ever since.
There's a point, and it happened with me too, where I was asking questions. And then there was a point to where I realized I was having conversations. And I know you do it too. You sort of throw your whole life out there as part of the conversation. A guy mentions something to you, and then you may say the deepest, darkest thing that you've never really told anybody, and you're saying it to thousands of people out there.
I used to be a girl.
Believe me, I find that hard to believe, Ray. You're a handsome man, but I don't know how you'd be as a girl. So,
well, I think in imparting more about me has helped the audience become more familiar overall with the product.
Right.
That's a good way of putting it. And being a local guy born here, Community Hospital, May the 26th, 1950, 73 years ago, the more I throw out there, the more localized you make everything.
Right.
All politics are local. I forget who, Benjamin Franklin or somebody said that. So you can take a story, that's happening in China or Ukraine and all that, and you can still put a local spin on it just because people know who you are. They know your idiosyncratic ways. They know your secrets. They know your wins and your losses.
Right.
And
you're homegrown,
it just brings everything much closer together.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of that, the love of the valley and all that kind of stuff you had said before, that came from, number one, your mom, but also from your mom's friend, William Saroyan, who used to come over to the house all the time.
What a pain in the ass he was.
Was he really?
Yeah, Mom and Bill Saroyan were real tight.
You did not make the friends of the Armenians right now, by the way, right?
Well, he was a remarkable man, but he didn't like children. He didn't like children.
Oh, how old were you at the time?
About 9, 10, maybe.
Wow.
And he would ride his bicycle over to see my mother. My mother was an artist by trade, and what she was by title was the graphic artist for Fresno County. And she worked out of the main branch of the library downtown, even though she was not a librarian. She didn't really have a lot to do with books. But anything the county needed in the way of artwork, she would do.
Right.
Excuse me. So in Saroyan's circle of friends, they were, other authors and artists. So that was...
was that her connection, the art world with William Saroyan?
Yeah. She would do various displays in the entryway of the library, and whenever they're spotlighting him, I mean, he had to be hands-on involved with, that picture and this book, and so they got along. And he would come over about every other Sunday. He rode his bicycle, and he would come up the driveway. My mother owned a duplex. We lived in the back, and he'd come up the long driveway, and you could hear, and his bellowing voice, and she'd open the door and have a cup of coffee waiting for him.
Yeah.
And they would just chat about the stuff.
Like fun chats, or was it overly serious?
Books, libraries,
really?
I mean, not art, sculptures. I mean, just anything in that corner of the world that he was, big on. And I would hang around because I knew who he was. Right. I wanted to absorb some of this stuff, even as a 10-year-old. He goes, Raymond, get on your bicycle and go do something. I mean, he wanted me out of there.
He wanted you. Was he taken by your mom, you think?
He never indicated that, but he could have been.
Really?
Mom was a good-looking chick. So
was she really, huh?
Yeah, she was all right. I'll tell you one who was the real looker was her mother,
your grandmother.
My grandmother.
Yeah, you lived with her and your grandmother, right?
Yeah, I was raised by two women. There was never my parents broke up when I was 2, and my mother never remarried. And so the mom and grandma lived together forever. And
was it a fun household?
Oh, hell yes,
very
from that
serious.
aspect.
Really?
Well, my mom was very serious.
Really?
She was a stone cold serious person, and she worked very, very hard. She'd get off work and she's damn tired.
Yeah.
And whereas Grandma didn't work, and Grandma's cooking the food and all that, and singing songs and whistling. And my grandmother had the great love of animals that I got from her.
Yeah.
She was very good looking,
Yeah.
and my grandmother had my mother when she was just barely 14.
Oh, wow.
So they were very close in years.
They were close in age. So
they were more like sisters.
A bunch of friends.
And there's this picture, dude. I got to tell you.
Oh, hold on. We're going to be right back because, as you say, what do you say? Great. You got to go pay the bills, right?
Yep.
All right. We'll pay the bills with Ray Appleton right after this. This is the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ. It's News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome back to the Marc Kapetan Show. We're going to just get right back into it with Ray. By the way, Marcella, who do you call if you've been injured in an accident?
The Kapetan brothers.
The Kapetan brothers. You said that, by the way, you said that half-heartedly this time. Sorry. I think it's been an old joke of ours, and now she's like, okay, I'm tired of it now. All right, forget about it. You know about the Kapetan brothers. We're going to get right back into it with Ray because he was telling us about his wonderful mom and his wonderful grandmother. So, Ray Appleton.
There was a time when the Warner's Theater, in its heyday, was used for movie premieres.
Yeah,
big
of
movie
course.
premiere, and the stars would come to Fresno,
right?
And they'd go over to either Hotel California or a Hotel Fresno and had cocktails and all of that. Yeah. And there was one movie, very big movie, called Blood in the Sand that was about matadors in Spain. And my grandmother went to that premiere alone. And there's this great picture of her with a diamond-studded cigarette holder. She's smoking a fag, as we would say in Mother England.
Yeah.
She's wearing her mink stole, and on one side of her is Tyrone Power, and on the other side of her is Anthony Quinn.
No,
and they're making eyes at her like there's no tomorrow. And my grandmother, his name was Margaret, she's just in the middle with her martini and her cigarette holder. Just looking like $1 million, going, hey, look at who's drooling over me.
Do you have a copy of that photo?
No, I don't. My daughter does, I believe.
Oh, we got to find a copy. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yes.
So, I mean, was she part of society in Fresno?
No, she was a very poor lady.
Really?
Didn't have a lot. She married a wonderful man. First, my mother, I told you how young she was when she had my mother.
Right, 14.
She was married to an 18-year-old man whose name was George. Yeah. And that's all I know. Mom she met him once.
Now, this is not the Appleton side.
No,
this is
maternal side.
And what was their last name?
Wilmot.
Wilmot, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a story, too. But anyway, my grandmother was actually married to this guy. She was 15. He was 18. His name was George. And that didn't last long at all. My mother says she met him once. That's all she knew.
Wow.
And then after that, my grandmother stumbled into a guy that was quite a bit older than her, who was a successful realtor. His name was Ralph. That's where I get my middle name.
Okay.
From him. And he just adopted my mother and took everything in, and he was a great, great guy. And
so he was your grandfather?
Yeah, basically. In essence, absolutely, he was my grandfather.
How long did your mom, what year did she pass?
Oh, gosh. She was 82 when she died.
Oh, wow.
And it was, I can't remember. It was.
Did she see Rory and the kids and Grace and everything? Michael born and everything?
Yeah, Rory was quite young when she passed. But she knew Rory, yeah.
You said she was a serious lady. You were an only child, right?
Yep, only child of an only child.
She was an only child, also fatherless. Both, she had a great stepfather.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was there. He lived in Fresno.
No, but you never had a father figure as far as that was concerned.
Oh, no.
In fact, you even talked about on the first show we did that your father, you actually, the last 3 months of his life, when he couldn't speak, you said, screw it. I'm going to go sit down with this guy and tell him all about my life, and we're going to get to know each other even though he's on his deathbed.
That's what we did.
Okay. In some respects, and now we're getting psychological because Frank Arnold taught me how to do this.
Frank.
It drives me crazy.
Hi, Frank.
Also being a fatherless guy. He had a great father, but his stepfather, he was adopted. In some respects, it's almost envious because you go off to England, you know, I'm looking at all the tattoos that you got from and I'm going to make this all make sense. went into music, you played in bands, you toured with Supertramp, you did all these wild things that I don't think I think you guys have the enviable position of not having to live up to any fatherly expectations.
Good point. Yeah.
I don't know if that...
It means you just kind of walk on your own path.
You walk your own path.
Yeah,
you say, that looks good over there, I'm going to go for it. And sometimes it's also trouble, too. But
nobody ever in my family, my very small family, my grandmother, my mother, me, that's it, ever suggested, you need to grow up and do this.
Right.
I mean, it was never in the conversation. And now that I think about it, that was kind of weird how it all happened. I've, on my own, decided I wanted to go into zoology because I liked animals and, all that stuff and science. And that's where I started. And I got into radio accidentally, and I've been doing it ever since. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I guess.
As I always say, I've never had a real job.
The other aspect that I thought was interesting was, because I was talking to Blake Taylor, who was also an only child too. Do you? I guess the basic question is, how do you talk in front of a microphone? And I know we have this quote unquote audience out there, but how do you talk basically to yourself for 3 hours a day? Is it a product? And like I told Blake Taylor, is it a product of being an only child and having to create a play world for yourself as you're a kid playing?
Why are you smart? That's exactly what it is in my case.
Really?
I was always alone after school. I had imaginary friends. I had animal friends.
And what do you mean by that when you had imaginary? See, because I don't understand the concept necessarily. Because
when I was very, very young, I had an imaginary friend, human but not alive, obviously.
Named? Named?
I don't remember his name.
Really?
But I remembered after school every day we'd ride horses.
No kidding.
Isn't that weird? Yeah. Yeah.
You and your friend, your imaginary friend, would imaginary get on and ride horses. I'd
bounce around my house like I was riding a horse. Mom was not there because she was working.
Yeah.
I would get out of school, walk home alone. In those days, you could do it.
Yeah, latchkey kid.
From third grade on, I was 8 years old. I walked a considerable distance home every day, knew where the key was hidden, and I'd go in and find something in the way of a snack, and flip on the TV, and then I'd drag up Mr. Imaginary, and we go ride horses.
No kidding. How old were you at the time? You said
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Yeah. And that coincides with my paternal. I knew my paternal grandparents well before I knew my father. They injected themselves into my life, and that was good.
Oh, they did? Oh, that's
yeah.
Nice.
They made a big point of doing that.
Wow.
Even though their boy Jack was kind of a rat and didn't pay a lot of attention to me. But they had the largest quarter horse ranch in the world.
Right.
And at age 6, they put me on a horse. And my grandmother did, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" And they're like, "Oh, gee, this is not bad. It's kind of fun." So I became quite experienced on horses. Hence, the Civil War revisited, always having a horse.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Charging out on the battlefield, and people going, "How the hell are you doing that?" I go, "I'm just doing it."
Do you still have that horse, by the way?
No, it passed away. That was my last one. Nada. I went through 3 horses in 25 years for that event.
Do you think that? You made an offhand comment. You said that their son Jack, who was your father, basically that rat, but who couldn't. Do you think the ability? Because listen, I idolized my dad as far as that was concerned. Do you think that gives you more objectiveness when you're trying to assess situations and analyze people?
Oh God, not having a father?
No, being able to say, my father may have been a good man, but in some respects, I could also call him a rat.
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, I call him a rat in an affectionate way.
Yeah.
He was very quiet. He never said a lot. Rarely, he would pick me up like for a weekend to go over there to his house with his second family, a son and a daughter.
Oh, wow.
And his wife, my stepmother. She was great. I mean, she treated me no different than her own kids. Remarkable lady, loved her to death. And my half-brother, I'm still very close with him. Yeah. I don't see my half-sister much. But during the whole time, Dad would leave it with all of them to talk to me because he wouldn't.
Oh, literally. So you had contact with the family, but he would
pick me up, take me over there. He would jump into his easy chair, and he wouldn't wake up until Monday morning.
The complex life of Ray Appleton, and we're bringing it all out here on the Marc Kapetan Show. Sorry, Ray. We'll be right back after this. This is KMJ. It's News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. We're having technical difficulties over here. Oh, God. Folks, listen, I want to thank our sponsors for today. Victoria Sherlock at Sherlock Homes, at Sherlock Real Estate. If you are looking to buy a new home, call Victoria Sherlock at 559-289-4669. Like I said, she's the super sleuth of finding your next home. I like that little relationship to Sherlock Holmes. Victoria Sherlock from Sherlock Realty. Okay, folks, 559-289-4669. Sherlock Realty, the clue to finding your next home. We're back on with Ray Appleton, and we were just finding out that, folks, we videotaped this stuff. And we had a technical difficulty with the beautiful picture of Ray Appleton in our cameras. So we may have to do another one of these, Ray. I hate to tell you. So,
no, I said I would do it. That's no problem.
Listen.
Technical stuff happens.
Technical stuff happens. But you're a big deal for me to have on. So I love having you on. Hey, okay, listen.
Yeah.
You're, radio, AM radio, FM radio, whatever it is. Okay, multimedia, got all this kind of stuff. What do you see at one point in the documentary? You basically state nothing matters other than I care about my family. And I know, and I'm going to be bold to say, I know this is an attempt to you to have a sense to your family that, I was in England, sometimes I'm on the radio, I do all these things, sometimes I may be there, sometimes I may not be there, but I do care, and I do wish to have this great close relationship with you guys, even though sometimes I'm out there doing my thing, right?
I think so, yeah. I think you're on track with that, yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to do that as delicately as possible.
Well, look at, we talked about how I didn't have a father.
Right.
So, and I was not a good father in my early years in radio. I got married very, very, very young, very young. By the time I was 20, I had 2 kids. And I lost one of them. I lost Paul.
I know.
Which you never really get over that. And I was always worried about how they were going to adjust in their lives because I wasn't the best father. I didn't have a role model. I didn't know. I just didn't. And at the same time, my ego was so damn big, was in music radio. I put that in front of everything instead of the kids. Huge mistake. And I'm forever going to have to bear that cross,
And part of it was, and it's funny that you bring up the second part of it was, do you fall back and now you are rectifying? And that's part of what that speech was all about in that documentary, that, I didn't have any role model as far as that was concerned.
No, I didn't. But to get to the point that I'm trying to make, my son, Rory, is the most amazing father I've literally ever seen in my life. And I mean that beyond the beyond. And I ask him, where the hell did you get that? You didn't get that from me. Loves his wife, has a wonderful little home in Indianapolis, has 2 amazing sons, spends a ton of time with them.
Yeah, same with Grace, with her daughter and stuff.
I think that he just said, I'm going to do the opposite of what my father did with me, which was nothing, and I'm going to turn it on with my own family. And if that's it worked. I mean, he and I have talked about it a lot, and we finally have a relationship now that is great. Right. For a while, it was a little rocky. It's always rocky with Grace. She's very opinionated. She's been trying to run my life since she was about 9.
And that may be a good reason why.
Sometimes that gets in the way of things.
I know, but that's also...
Like it is right. We haven't spoken to each other for months.
Oh, you're kidding.
But I mean, that'll
call her after the show.
No, she owes me a call.
Yeah. Here we go. But what's funny is that with Rory... obviously there's an influence because he's doing pretty much the same thing that you were doing. He has a similar trajectory. He's doing it in print media.
Yeah, he's doing, and he's doing so well. His career is going a lot faster than mine. For those who don't know, he's the columnist, the big one, at the Indianapolis Star in Indianapolis. It's a Sunday column, which is that's where you want to be. Front page.
Right.
He's on the front page every week. And he just, he's taking time off now.
Yeah.
They've got a law back there. You can take 2 months, stay home with a new child. And he's got a new baby named Oliver, my grandson.
Who you're going to go see in a week or so?
Going to go see him in a week. But he just got offered this amazing job.
Well, okay, yeah, we were not going to say what it may be or anything. I've heard a little bit about it.
It's huge and it's unbelievable.
I don't know. Can that be released though? I mean, that's the only thing.
But that's where I'm going to leave it. But the fact that he's been able to do his career, which has been a rocket ship ride for him, and be the amazing father that he is. Wow, I'm 73 years old, and I'm so envious. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have had half of that when I was a father of a younger child.
Well, here's the deal, though. You do have half of it in the sense that you did get to the top of your. I mean, you had the chances to be national stuff, and you said, I want to stay here in Fresno. But you've reached the top, the pinnacle of your art form here. He's doing the same thing in a very, very similar media. So you may not have given him the fatherly influence that you may think is important and may be important with the family, but you did give him that work ethic and that sense of do all you can to get to the top of your field, right?
Yeah, and he's doing earnestly and honestly, and he's doing very well. He's an amazing writer.
I understand you're going to go see him. I understand his first son may be some sort of musical savant.
This is amazing. I took Rowan to a music store in Indianapolis. I've bought him everything. I've bought him a drum set, guitars, basses, all of that. Pick something out. He's taken a real affinity to pianos, to keyboards.
Okay.
He has perfect pitch. There's a YouTube channel where his music teachers, his mother, Rory, they'll play a note. He's blindfolded or with his head in the corner, and he'll tell you what that is. F minor seventh. I mean...
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh, it's amazing.
Wait a minute, he's 5?
5. And he's now on the piano with the 2 hands crossing over. Rory will call me up and go, listen to this. And I go, what is that? I don't recognize that. It's your grandson. No, it's not. And he's picking up a gig on Tuesday nights to play in a nightclub back there. I swear to God, I don't know the full meaning of all that, but Rory's like, yeah, he's
going to join the union. He's a working musician right now. They have
younger people in during the dinner hour, and his teachers have said they're going to put him in there, and he's going to play. So, I mean, like, hey, Grandpa, I got a gig. I'm like, oh, God.
Wait a minute. Hold on, folks, because I know what Ray's going to do. He's going to work his way into playing bass with the kid.
No, I'm not going to. I only do that with you. Yeah. Which I must add, is the high point of my life, my elder life's playing music with Marc's family. I just love it. Is your audience aware the music you play is all you?
Yeah. The music on the show that you hear, folks, is our band from 1994. Yeah. The Appletons. I'm wearing the T-shirt just for you, Ray. You notice that?
I don't even have one.
All right, we'll give you this one after we're done. Mom would have loved it, right?
What?
She was a jazz fanatic to find out that her great-grandson is playing stuff like this.
She'd go nuts.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
She'd go nuts. Yeah.
Future for Ray Appleton. A future for radio in general. What do you think? Got about a minute.
Me, or my future, or radio future?
Whatever. Aren't you one and the same? You're one and the same, right?
I'm not going to retire. I'm just probably going to drop dead behind a microphone. I always thought I would retire early. And then everybody I know who's done that has died. I mean, they get bored. Like Broski, he quit for 5 years. He retired. And he said, I got to come back. And he's been back for years.
He's been back for years, yeah.
So, I love work. I love the job.
Yeah.
I'll never tire of it. You sit and you talk for 3 hours a day. How tough can that be?
Well, believe me, you make it easy. I got to say that.
But when I'm on vacation, or if I'm homesick, or if I'm hospitalized or something, I go nuts because I miss this job so much.
Well, I don't think we're going to miss you anytime soon because you're there 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. So kudos to you, Ray Appleton.
I'm healthy and I'm losing weight and everything's good.
Good for you, buddy. All right, Ray Appleton, thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
We'll see you next week on the Marc Kapetan Show. Stay tuned for the Restaurant Tours with Mike Sherinian and Dave Fansler coming up next. This is KMJ.
Yeah.